Hi, I'm Melissa May, and this is Little Book of Confessions, a podcast about the stories we keep, the truths that shape us, and the messy, beautiful in between. What started as my journal turned into a space for raw conversations, anonymous confessions, and unfiltered reflections on life, work, identity, and everything we're not saying out loud. If you're figuring it out as you go, you're not alone. Let's confess, because some secrets deserve to be told. Trigger warning. Little Book of Confessions is a space for honest, unfiltered storytelling. Episodes may include discussions of trauma, mental health, abuse, sexual assault, addiction, self-harm, suicidal ideation, grief, identity struggles, and other sensitive or difficult subjects. Please take care while listening. Pause or skip episodes if you need to. Your well-being comes first. For today's episode, bear with me because there are some visual components to it. So I do suggest go over to my YouTube and check out what I'm showing, but I will describe in detail as well. So today's episode is going to be about my little books that I used to carry around with me and have my friends write stuff down. I would write stuff down. I would capture moments. I would take them to bars and pass them out so people would sign them. I talked about that before too. So I wanted to talk about this little project that I did, and this is also going to feed it over to my TikTok because I'm going to do a little secret each week, but I'm going to hold up right now and describe this. I did this art project, and it's not that cute. If you look at it, I used an old priority box, and I painted it with a yellow background and a purple skeleton key. And then I have all these like old stamps. When I was little, I used to collect stamps, and I'm also a little bit of a hoarder, so I have kept a lot of things. So when I was thinking about all the things that have been written in these books, and right now I'm holding them up, there's a few like yellow, black, red, orange little books that I used to carry around. And I would sometimes feel down and out, and I would go back and read what people have written over the years, what I've written over the years. Some of it made me laugh. Some of it was sad. Some of it was just ridiculous and made no sense. Some are affirmations. And so I decided to do this project where I have this old journal that had this really cool paper. You know, that paper that looks like somebody made it from like the 1800s. And so one day I decided, okay, I'm going to pick out my favorite quotes and I am going to make little envelopes from this paper. I'm going to make little slips of paper to go inside, and I'm going to write down the ones that really have stuck with me, that have made me laugh, made me cry, made me crinkle my nose and laugh. And then I guess I painted the skeleton key on this artwork too, because I'm obsessed with skeleton keys. I'm going to hold some up now too, old skeleton keys. When I lived in my house in Ohio, we had this attic and it had a skeleton key to get in. And I was just always so fascinated with that. And up in that attic is where we, like a lot of us cousins, sisters, brothers, we would tell all these secrets and we would do light as a feather and read stories to each other. We had measles and we're locked up there. Not locked, technically, but quarantined, I guess you could say, up there. I don't know. I just had this project. I'm sure artists out there, creative people, or if you just have something you want to work on, sometimes you think about these different elements. So I was thinking about the little books, the little secret sayings, all of that. I was thinking about how skeleton keys like unlock secret doors. And in this art project that I did, I made a little pocket to stuff all these little envelopes in. I think there's 40 something in here. And so what I'm going to be doing on TikTok each week is I had taped them shut, and I made this years ago, so I didn't even remember what I put in here. So every week I'm going to read one. I'm going to cut the tape open and read it and just share just a really quick clip. But I just wanted to share this with people because I know we all have ways that we explore our past, explore what we're feeling, how we revisit things that have happened in our lives. And so I just want to invite you on this journey with me. I think the other thing too that I think about is sometimes somebody says something or shares something with you that just like really impacts the way that you think about the world. And it's like this one little thing that'll live rent free in your head forever. And I just really want to be able to share that. I think the other thing too is when we're talking about the secrets that we keep, the confessions, the stories we tell ourselves, and how we decide to share that with the world, it can be scary to do that. And also, I think being able to look back on these like things too, it makes me feel less lonely. Like, I just remember just all of these like instances that I went through where I have just like clung on to the kindness and like vulnerability and like just empathy that people have shown me over the years. I think one in here, and no spoiler alert to all of them, but there was one in here that I read today that I didn't remember was in here that was in the books, but somebody had written like that they were suicidal and depressed, and it was just a stranger, and they just wrote this in the book, and they needed to say it out loud. And that's something that I've struggled with in the past too. And it's always hard to admit that because I've always had to be so strong over the years. And a lot of us that come from maybe trauma or difficult childhoods, we try to pretend like everything's okay all the time. And then as I was reading these today, that just brought me back to a moment when I was like 13, and things were not going great with my mom. And it was just my sister and I living with my mom in Mobile, Alabama. She was going through her second divorce. I guess the first was from my dad, the second from my stepdad, which she ended up remarrying him again sometime later, but that's a different story. And I just remember being in my room, and um I was playing Nirvana over and over again, like those 90s kids, you remember boom boxes and cassette tapes. And so I would listen, I'd rewind. I had a pack of cigarettes that I had stolen from my mom, and I was just in the room chain smoking. And then I just was feeling so hopeless. And it's hard for me to share this because I think about my little sister, and I never would have done this to her, left her all alone. And I wasn't really trying to hurt myself, I don't think. I think I was just trying to like, also, come on, it was the 90s, we are all emo. But I think I was just trying to play out a scenario in my head of what could I do to make my mom care about me or show that my life is worth something. So I'm chain smoking, and I took a whole bottle of Tylenol and I chased it with some very cheap vodka that was probably very watered down from me having my friends over when my mom wasn't home, which she wasn't home very often. We would drink it in, fill it back up with some water, but I did that, and I'm just sitting there and I'm waiting for something to happen, and nothing happened. Thank goodness, right? And I just remember the night it gets later, and my mom comes home. I don't even know what time it was, and I just remember her opening the door, and she catches me smoking a cigarette, and she just looks at me and just says, "Did you take my lighter?" And I said no, and she just closed the door and left. And for some reason, I don't know what it is, because it's like I did that because I wanted a reaction out of her. I didn't tell her what I did, and she obviously didn't really care about my well-being in general, but for some reason, that actually flipped a switch in me, and I was like, "You know what? F this. I will never, ever. Why would I give somebody a satisfaction of breaking me down?" Because you know what? I wasn't broken down. I was just sad. And I just found a lot of strength after that. And after that, I really became more grounded in who I was, even though it would be hard. We would go through another move after that. And I had to start a new school when I was 14 again. But I just remember just really feeling grounded in who I was. Like, it was just like, I'm not saying that people need to go through that to feel something like that. But anyways, I just was thinking about that as I was looking at this project I did. I was looking at the little books, the skeleton keys, and I look at the tapestry of my life and the things that have happened, and just reflect back on who I was and where I am now. And I I have friends. I don't have kids. I'm single with no kids, but I have friends who have kids that are going through difficult times too. And a couple of people have talked to me about things. I think maybe I'm a safe space. I've been pretty open and outspoken about the things I've been through, but my heart just goes out. It's so hard. And I think if you know somebody that's feeling that way, if you feel that way, I think just remember you're beautiful and you're here for a reason. And if I think about if anything had happened, like I've lived a big life. I've lived a big life. I've lived a brave life. And I have can't imagine that I wouldn't have had the experiences that I've had. I wouldn't have touched people's lives. They wouldn't have touched mine. And just always remember, reach out because these secrets, they will destroy you. And I guarantee you there's somebody out there that can really relate to you, that can take you out of a dark moment, that can help reflect who you are back to yourself. So that's my thought for today. I don't know. I started off just trying to explain my project and what I was going to be doing on TikTok and everything, but it's something that really I wanted to talk about. Especially, we aren't alone. We felt isolated because of COVID, but hopefully, we have our communities and we're reaching out to them and making a difference in our own lives and other people's lives. So, stay beautiful, stay strong. DM me if you ever need to talk. Leave a comment if you have something that you would like to share. If you have a little one liner or something that's gotten you through tough times, a moment of kindness from a stranger, a moment of kindness from and to yourself. So until next time, thank you for listening to Little Book of Confessions. If something in this episode stirred something in you, good. That's what we're here for. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at melissamay.me. Until next time, keep writing your truth, and remember, some secrets deserve to be told.